Hello everyone. Today we will be starting with HFA subject Unit 1 Chapter number 4 Underwriting of Shares. So far we have already completed with Chapter 2, that is Share Capital Transactions, and Chapter 3, that is Issue of Bonus Shares. Now today we start with our 4th chapter in Unit 1, that is Underwriting of Shares. Very easy and scoring chapter. Let's understand the concept of underwriting of shares. First of all, what do you mean by underwriting? Underwriting means guaranteeing. I repeat, underwriting means guaranteeing of shares. Let's understand the whole concept from the root. When any new company is formed, when any new company is formed and it goes for IPO, goes for IPO, initial public offering, for the first time. You all have already studied the clause of minimum subscription. What is that? Yes, 90% minimum shares must be subscribed by the public. Then only company is allowed to start the business. Certificate of commencement will be given only if minimum 90% subscriptions are received from the public for whatever shares are issued by the company. Now imagine the risk here. The company issues the shares, offers the shares to the public. What if the company does not receive the minimum applications, 90%? Yes, the company cannot start the business. Here they feel the need of guarantors, underwriters. Who are underwriters? These people are underwriters. These people with bags full of money, they give the guarantee that minimum 90% shares will be subscribed by the public, and if people don't buy those shares, then these people have to buy the shares. Which people? Underwriters, guarantors. These people have to buy the shares of the company whichever are not subscribed by the public, so that the company can commence the business. So underwriting comes into force whenever any new company issues shares for the first time, or even if an existing company issues shares in the public, and to avoid the risk of not getting minimum 90% subscription, company hires underwriters. These underwriters can be people, they can be any person from the society, or they can be financial institutions, banks, any organization who has the appetite, who has the risk-taking capacity of purchasing that up to 90% shares of the company. Now here, since we have more than one underwriters, several concepts I'll be explaining you here, so understand it thoroughly, and then we will be starting with the questions today. Here, because more than one underwriter may be involved, either one person can entirely take the risk, or more than one person. Few people, 2, 3, 4, 5 people can jointly take the risk of buying those shares. So here, suppose Mr. A, Mr. B and Mr. C. Mr. A, Mr. B and Mr. C. All the 3 people take the guarantee of subscription of shares. They are the underwriters. First of all, how will we differentiate that any applications received by the company are by the efforts of Mr. A or Mr. B or Mr. C? How will we differentiate that? They will bear the stamp. These 3 people will put their stamp on the applications which are made by their efforts. So if A approaches 500 people and they buy the shares of the company, then whatever application forms are brought by A's people, what will A do in every application form which he has given to those 500 people? He will put his stamp, A's stamp. B will put his stamp to the people he is getting for the company. C will put his stamp on the people's applications which he is getting to the company. These applications which bear the stamp of the underwriters are called marked applications. I repeat, okay, these applications which bear the stamp of the underwriters are called marked applications. Okay, now whichever don't bear any stamp, that means they are received by company's efforts only. This company also has some reputation in the market, so it is not that only underwriters are making the efforts and people are buying the shares. People are buying the shares because of the name and fame of this company also. Underwriters are just to avoid that risk. Maybe company does not hire any underwriters and still get full subscription or over subscription from the public. But to avoid the uncertainty, to avoid the risk, on the safer side, company hires the underwriters. Okay. So whatever applications don't bear the stamp of any underwriters, which are received by company's efforts itself, they are called unmarked applications. I repeat, whichever applications don't bear the stamp of any of these three underwriters, they are called unmarked applications. So unmarked applications are those applications which are received by company's efforts itself. Okay. Unmarked applications are those applications which company directly receives from the public without the efforts of any of these underwriters. So keep these few terms in mind. In more detail, we will take up in the coming lecture how to find the liability of each and every underwriter, what risk they have to bear and what shares they have to buy. That we will see in the today's session itself. Plus in the coming sessions, we will see how to pass the journal entries from company's point of view also. And of course, for taking so huge risk, these people get commission which is called underwriting commission. What are the SEBI guidelines in Companies Act 2013? Regarding that, we will see in detail in the coming lectures. Okay. So let's take up with the concept of how to find the underwriter's liability. Okay. But keep it in mind, marked applications are those applications which bear the stamp of the underwriters, and unmarked applications are those applications which company directly receives from the public. Okay. Let's understand the method of calculating the underwriter's liability. Look at the further part, everyone. Yes, so all of you give the heading in your notebooks. Okay, HFA Unit 1 Chapter 4, Underwriting of Shares. And in that all of you give the heading Statement Showing Underwriter's Liability. This is what we will understand in detail today with the practical question. How to find underwriter's liability. Okay, means how many shares underwriters will have to buy. That we are going to study. So give this heading Statement Showing Underwriter's Liability and make these columns particulars, and then suppose there are three underwriters A, B and C. So after particulars make the column, big column of underwriters, and within underwriters write A, B and C and then total. Okay. Pause the video and all of you make this format. Okay, I hope everyone is done with the format. Now understand how to find underwriter's liability. We shall start with gross liability. All of you write down gross liability. Gross liability means the risk which A, B and C have undertaken. For example, if out of the total shares issued by the company, A has taken the risk of 30%, B has taken the risk of 30%, so 30 makes it 60%, and C has taken the remaining risk of 40%, then that is supposed to be their gross liability. So we will write gross liability. All of you write down this in amounts XXX. Okay, it can be any amount depending on the figures in the question. Now from gross liability we will subtract. First we will subtract unmarked applications in the ratio of gross liability. Now just now I explained you in the beginning of this lecture today. What do you mean by unmarked applications? Those applications which do not bear the stamp of any of the underwriters A, B or C. Means unmarked applications are received directly by the company. They are received because of the reputation of company itself. But finally tell me one thing. Did company receive the shares from the public or not, whether marked or unmarked? Yes. So why will underwriters purchase them? Underwriters have to purchase only if the people don't subscribe for the shares. Underwriters have to purchase only if company do not receive the applications from public. Unmarked applications are also received by the company, means underwriters don't have to buy that shares because company has received those applications. So therefore underwriters liability will decrease because they don't have to buy their shares, so we subtract. But underwriters will get the benefit in the ratio of their gross liability. So if C has taken 40% risk, he will get more benefit in that unmarked application. A and B have taken 30% risk, then they will get less benefit in that unmarked applications. So whatever are unmarked applications, finally they are also received by the company. So we deduct them from underwriter's gross liability, but we deduct them in the ratio of gross liability. And then whatever amount remains, from that we will further subtract marked applications. Marked applications are those applications which bear the stamp of underwriters. So A's marked applications you will minus from A, B's marked applications you will minus from B, C's marked applications you will minus from C, and then total. Okay, so marked applications we will minus, means all the applications received by the company are subtracted. Now this is their final liability of A, B and C. Now here two things are possible. Either we will have surplus. Now keep it in mind here, surplus is the negative amount, or we will have deficit, and deficit here is the positive amount. Okay, it's opposite. I repeat, surplus here would be the negative amount. Suppose let us assume that A gets surplus. Okay, that means A's amount comes negative. We are just assuming this. Okay, and B gets deficit means positive amount, and C also gets deficit means positive amount. Okay, this is just an assumption that A gets surplus which is negative amount, B gets deficit that is positive amount, and C gets deficit that is positive amount. Now why this surplus is negative? Surplus means total unmarked and marked applications of A are more than his gross liability. So there is a surplus. Means A does not have to buy the shares. A has taken suppose a liability of 10,000 shares he will purchase, and total unmarked and marked applications received by his efforts are already 11,000, more than his liability, more than his risk. Then do A have to buy the shares? No. I repeat, if A has taken a guarantee of 10,000 shares and total applications received through the efforts of A, including marked and unmarked, are 11,000, then does A have to buy the shares? No. So he is having surplus of 1,000 shares. This will be negative. Gross liability 10,000, total applications received through his efforts 11,000. So 10,000 minus 11 will become minus 1,000. That's why I said here surplus would be negative and deficit would be positive. Deficit means B has taken liability of 10,000, but with his efforts only 9,000 applications are received. So 1,000 still he has to buy. That way. So surplus would be negative and deficit would be positive amount. Keep this in mind. Now after subtracting this, okay, surplus and deficit, what we get? What we will do is surplus will be distributed amongst other underwriters. In there, all of you must write this in the notebook. In their respective gross liability ratio. Means here A gets surplus. So A's amount we will distribute between B and C in the ratio of gross liability of B and C. That's why I said respective gross liability ratio. So whatever is the surplus of A, we will distribute between B and C in the ratio of gross liability of B and C. From A the amount will get added, so his liability will become 0, and in B and C we will distribute it, so amount will get subtracted in B and C in the ratio of their gross liability. Okay, keep this in mind everyone. I repeat it once again. This amount will get distributed between B and C. Okay, this amount will get distributed between B and C in the ratio of their respective gross liability. Means in which ratio? Okay, in this particular ratio. Whatever is the gross liability of B and C, in that ratio, we will distribute this amount. Keep this in mind. Okay. Now, after this, whatever amount remains is their final net liability. Okay, whatever amount now remains will be their final liability. These are the shares what A, B, and C have to buy. But in the situation of example what I have given to you, A won't have to buy anything, his amount would become 0. B and C will have to buy the shares, their amount will remain. So keep this in mind. Okay, these would be your final answers. I hope everyone is clear with this. You'll be more clear with the practical question what we will be solving. But have a look at it once again. This format is what you have to remember, and I'll be asking this to you in my next live session. So learn this format properly. We will start with gross liability. From that, first we will subtract unmarked applications in the ratio of gross liability. Since the company has received the applications and underwriters don't have to buy those shares, so their liability will also decrease by unmarked applications. Then from the amount remaining, we will subtract marked applications. Marked applications of A we will subtract in A, B we will subtract in B, C we will subtract in C. Now after that, negative amount remains would be considered as surplus and positive amount remains would be considered as deficit. So this surplus negative amount we will distribute amongst the other underwriters in the respective gross liability ratio. Because finally company has received those shares, so other underwriters also don't have to buy it. So other underwriters liability will also decrease. This amount negative of A will get added in A but subtracted in B and C in the ratio of gross liability of B and C. And then final net liability of A, B and C will be obtained. I hope everyone is clear with this. So all of you take out question 1 of underwriting. So all of you look at question number 1, be attentive. ABC Limited Incorporated on 1/1/2019 issued a prospectus inviting applications for 20,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each. So total shares offered, inviting applications means total shares issued, offered by the company in the market, in the public, are 20,000 equity shares. The whole issue was fully underwritten by Amit, Nakul and Ram as follows. So all 20,000 shares have been guaranteed, have been underwritten by Amit, Nakul and Ram jointly. Out of that 20,000, Amit has taken the guarantee of 10,000 shares, Nakul has taken the guarantee of 6,000 shares and Ram has taken the guarantee of 4,000 shares. You can cross check, is it fully underwritten or not? 10,000 plus 6,000, 16,000 plus 4,000, 20,000. Yes. Now applications were received for 16,000 shares. Out of 20,000, only 16,000 shares. You can see this risk of the company. I told you minimum subscription is 90%. So by chance if company would not have hired the underwriters, then 20,000 is 90%, 18,000 applications are not received by the company. ABC Limited would not have been in a position to start the company. They would have to refund the entire money if they would not have hired underwriters. But here they have hired. From 20,000, if company has received only 16,000 applications, who will buy remaining 4,000 applications? Amit, Nakul and Ram. And how many shares they are going to buy out of that 4,000? That is what we are going to find in our solution. Of which marked applications, I told you marked applications are those which bear the stamp of underwriters. So Amit's stamp is there in how many shares? Applications 8,000. Nakul's stamp is there on how many applications? 2850. And Ram's stamp is there on how many applications? 4150. So these are directly received through underwriters' efforts. 8,000 applications are received by the efforts of Amit. 2850 applications are received by the efforts of Nakul and 4150 by the efforts of Ram. Let us count the total. Do it everyone. 8,000 Do it in calculator. Plus 2850 plus 4150. Finally, how many applications are received by the efforts of underwriters? 8000 plus 2850 is 10,850 plus 4150 is 15,000. So 15,000 applications are marked. They are received by the efforts of underwriters. Okay, out of 16,000, 15,000 applications are marked. They are received by the efforts of underwriters, and remaining 1000 application, I told you this, which don't bear the stamp of any underwriters, they are unmarked applications. They are received by company's own name and fame and company's own reputation. So 15,000 applications are marked of Amit, Nakul and Ram. They are received by their efforts, and remaining 1000 applications received by the company are unmarked. They are directly received by the company from the public. Now you are required to find out liabilities of individual underwriters, and given to you unmarked applications are to be allocated in the ratio of gross liability. Even if not mentioned, we discussed that we are going to see here the second point. We are going to distribute unmarked applications in the ratio of gross liability. Okay, here it is mentioned, but even if not mentioned, we would have done the same. So I hope everyone is clear with the question. Let us find out the liability of underwriters. Give the heading everyone, ABC Limited, statement showing underwriters liability, and make the columns particulars, underwriters, Amit, Nakul, Ram, and then total. Pause the video and make the format everyone. Yes, I hope everyone is done with the formats. Let us start now. As I discussed with you, how would you start your solutions here? We'll start with gross liability. So all of you write down gross liability. Now what are the gross liabilities of Amit, Nakul and Ram? You all can see here. They have underwritten how many shares? 10,000 is the gross liability of Amit, 6,000 of Nakul and 4,000 of Ram. So all of you write down 10,000 in Amit's column, 6,000 in Nakul's column and 4,000 in Ram's column. Total guarantee taken by them is of 20,000. Now what did we discuss? First we will subtract unmarked applications in the ratio of gross liability. See the format I made you write everyone. First we'll subtract unmarked applications in the ratio of gross liability. So unmarked applications, how do you get them? You all can see here, total 16,000 applications are received by the company, out of which 8,000 plus 2850 plus 4150, 15,000 are marked. So remaining 1,000 are unmarked. That is what we'll show here. 16,000 minus 15,000, that is equal to 1,000. Okay. So 1,000 applications, 16,000 minus 15,000, that is equal to 1,000 applications will be distributed in the ratio of gross liability. What is the ratio? All of you can see here. 10:6:4. If you cancel the zeros, then what is the ratio of gross liability? 10:6:4. 2 into 5 is 10, 2 into 3 is 6, 2 into 2 is 4. Means what is the ratio of gross liability? 5:3:2. Okay. What is the ratio of gross liability? 5:3:2. Okay. This is the ratio of gross liability. So 5 plus 3, 8 plus 2, then 5 by 10, 3 by 10, 2 by 10. In this ratio, we will distribute it. I repeat it once again. Total applications received are 16,000, from which 15,000 are marked, so 1,000 are unmarked. So unmarked applications, 16,000 minus 15,000 equals to 1,000, will be distributed in the ratio of gross liability. Now 10,000, 6,000 and 4,000, if you cancel the 3 zeros, then 10, 6 and 4 will remain, and then from 10, 6 and 4 dividing by 2, we get the ratio of 5:3:2. So 1,000 into 5 by 10, this 1,000 we have to distribute in the ratio of gross liability. So 1,000 into 5 by 10, that is 500. Okay, from Amit we'll subtract 500. 1,000 into 3 by 10, 300. 1,000 into 2 by 10, 200. This is how we'll subtract total unmarked applications of 1000. Now subtracting that, what we will get is 10,000 minus 500, 9,500, 6,000 minus 300, 5,700, 4,000 minus 200, 3,800, and 20,000 minus 1,000, 19,000. Now from that we have to subtract marked applications because they are directly received by their efforts, so their liability will decrease by it. What are the marked applications? You all can see here. Amit is 8,000 shares, Nakul is 2850, Ram is 4150. Okay, 8,000 is of Amit, then 2850 is of Nakul, and 4150 is of Ram. Total marked applications as we discussed are 15,000. Now if you subtract these amounts, then what do we get? As I said, negative would be surplus and positive would be deficit. So below that we'll get surplus if the answer is negative, or deficit if the answer is positive. Let us find out. 9,500 minus 8,000, 1,500, this is the deficit, positive amount. 5,700 minus 2850, 2850 is again a deficit, positive amount. But 3,800 minus 4,150 minus 350 is the surplus, negative amount. And 19,000 minus 15,000 is 4,000. Now, the surplus is of Ram. Okay, he has taken a liability of only 4,000 shares. But in his account, we already have 200 plus 4,150, 4,350 shares. Therefore, he is having surplus of 350 shares. Okay, so this 350 shares he doesn't have to buy because his liability is already over, but company has received. So this 350 shares we will distribute between whom? Will distribute it between the other two underwriters. That means which two underwriters will distribute it between? Amit and Nakul, and in the ratio of their gross liability. What is the ratio of their gross liability between Amit and Nakul? 10:6. 2 into 5, 2 into 3 means 5:3. What is the gross liability ratio of Amit and Nakul? 5:3. So here we will write surplus of Ram, that is 350, will be distributed amongst remaining underwriters, that is Amit and Nakul, in the ratio of their gross liability, that is 5:3. Okay, in which ratio? Between Amit and Nakul, 10,000 and 6,000, if you cancel the zeros, 10 and 6 remains. Now 10 and 6 both are divisible by 2. 2 into 5 is 10, 2 into 3 is 6. So what is the gross liability, respective gross liability ratio of Amit and Nakul? 5:3. 5 by 8, 3 by 8. This 350 will be distributed in the ratio of 5 by 8 and 3 by 8 between Amit and Nakul. So all of you show this calculations. 350 into, do it in calculator, 350 into 5 by 8. Further, the liability of Amit will decrease by 219. You have to round it off. 218.75, so you round it off to 219 because 0.75 shares cannot be taken. Same way, 350 into 3 by 8, that is 131.25, so you round it off to 131. Here we will subtract these amounts because their liability will decrease. Okay, in Amit and Nakul we will subtract the amounts, so write it in bracket. And in case of Ram, we will add back 350. Okay, total is nil. So finally, what is the net liability? What are the final number of shares Amit, Nakul and Ram have to purchase? 1,500 minus 219. Do it. 1,500 minus 219. Final liability of Amit is 1,281 shares. He has to buy 1,281 shares of the company, and 2,850 minus 131. Nakul has to buy 2,719 shares. and minus 350 plus 350. Ram does not have to buy any shares. And 1281 plus 2719, total liability of this is 4000, as we already discussed. Out of 20,000 shares, company has received 16,000 applications. So remaining 4,000 shares are to be purchased by the underwriters. How will this 4,000 shares be purchased by underwriters? Amit will buy 1281 shares and Nakul will buy 2719 shares. Ram does not have to buy any shares because due to his efforts, already more shares are received by the company. So this is our final answer. Okay, 1281, 2719 and 4,000. Total liability of all the underwriters. I hope everyone is clear with this. So prepare this statement properly. It's very, very simple statement. One more question similar to this will solve in our live session. Bye everyone. See you in the next lecture. Take care.